Hello everyone, and now welcome to game, I believe 5 in the series between Axiom and MVP. Mia is playing for Team Axiom, meanwhile Dream playing for Team MVP. I will try to refer to it as Zerg versus Terran throughout the rest of the matchup, as I cannot. Yeah. All right. Axiom player is Mia. Thank you. So for all the observers out there, Axiom player is Mia. I did not get it wrong, and this is going to be here on. Oh my! This does look. Wow. Okay, it looked like Ohana for just a second, and then the center is all mixed up on me, and I in fact know it is not. So my apologies there for not keeping track. And I believe this is the first time I've actually cast a game on this map. I should have paid better attention. For all of you guys who can read the comments, I'm sure someone out there is calling me an ID10T and saying what the name of the map is. Here we go. Barracks is now being placed down, and what is going to happen in this Terran versus Zerg matchup? Based upon what I can see here, I can make a number of predictions. And oh, I have cast a game on this map. All right, it just the mineral positioning made it look like Ohana for just a second, when I in fact know it is not. All right, here we go. Natural expansion and main base is relatively far for Zerg players, as the creep does not spread out that far. So you're going to see a very, very long walk distance between the creep up here and the creep on the low ground. So creep tumors will be in abundance relatively early on. Now, what is Mia going to handle or have to deal with, as it looks like it may be a Reaper first opening? Yes, it will be an early Reaper coming in from Dream, and that early Reaper is just what is one of the reasons why some Terran players do not actually scout early on. That Reaper, you can train that Reaper, it moves extremely quickly during the early portion of the game, so you can keep that SCV back at home. Also, if your opponent is attempting to do any sort of 6 pool or 7 pool or 10 pool on you, the Reaper does have enough damage and enough speed to deal with those Zerglings early on. Now, the Reaper damage has been significantly decreased. You can see only 8 damage per attack there, as opposed to, I believe it was 16 prior to Heart of the Swarm changes, but it does move very quickly. 3.75 compared to the 2.95 of a Zergling. Has a range attack and combat drugs to make sure that he stays healthy throughout the game. There you go. The Zergling's now trying to engage here. That one Zergling may get pulled off. There you have it. As the Reaper now just taking a look around, sees everything that he wants to see, and may try to go after a Zergling or two. So one Zergling is low on hit points. Oh, it looks like there's now a lot of Zerglings on the field, and this is where the Reaper has to be a little careful. If the Reaper engages up against a large swarm of Zerglings, that is going to hurt, or perhaps gets within combat range of a Queen, takes a dart to the face, as there are now 2 Reapers here. The question is also going to remain, how many Reapers is Dream going for? Is Dream going to keep this at only 2 Reapers? That does appear to be the case. There are enough Queens on the field. Both Queens now down here, as the Reapers only with a range of 5 compared to the Talons with a range of 5 for those Queens. Combat Trugs, oh so good for those Reapers. Reapers now apparently backing off, as we now see a 3rd command center being built. Mia does spot this, and what's more important, as Dream does not spot Mia spotting that expansion. So anytime you have a little bit more information on your opponent, that is a great plan, especially if you have information and your opponent doesn't know you have that information. If you know your opponent knows what you're trying to hide, then you just may be a little bit more aggressive with it. You may perhaps try to lift off and land and turn this into a planetary fortress instead of an orbital command, and training more SCVs back inside your own personal base. Taking a look at the strategy, Overlords very, very well positioned across the map, making it difficult for Marines to shoot them down without any support. Now, what are we going to see as a follow-up, as we see 4 Hellions and 2 Reapers making a move out across the field? This is, in fact, a 600 resource army, and that is fairly expensive at this point. army supply, 15 versus 16 units. You can see 18 Zerglings against 4 Hellions and those 2 Reapers. The Reapers may actually start picking off units in just a moment, as the Zerglings may try to come in and swarm from behind. Here you have it. They are now trying to push in together. All those Zerglings getting torched out, as we now see a large group here. All right, what's going to be happening? All those Zerglings now taken down. Oh my gosh, so many Zerglings from Mia taken out in just a matter of seconds. And now this is definitely not looking good. Army supply 16 to 21. And even though it does not sound like a very big difference, what does that turn out? 4-3 fight. If you do, no basic fractions, that is about a 4-3 fight, and that is that does turn things out around fairly quickly. Here we go, though. Queens are now making their way in. Hellions will need to back off. There are a couple of Reapers here. Are Zerglings perhaps going to try to engage? The Hellions do make their way back here onto the high ground. And are they going to perhaps scout these units? All right, Widowmine. Is it going to burrow in time? Not in time, but it does get a couple of Zerglings. This Widowmine does not burrow in time, as the Hellions still chasing after the Zerglings. Dream just scampering away with those Zerglings. Looks like he will be able to live and fight another day with those units, as we are now going to be on 3 bases for Mia, the Zerg player, and Dream still sitting on 2. Hellions now wandering around the field. Where are these Reapers going? What are these Reapers going to do? Widowmines now perhaps trying to get in position. A lot of up and down locations here. So Mia does have a little bit of idea on what's going on the far side. But what's also going to be important to see is what Dream is doing behind this. So far, he's really showing a lot of Hellions and Reapers. But back at home, you already see a tech switch to very heavy infantry. Combat shield, 1-1 upgrades, triply training up SCVs. Should be able to train up a lot more Marines in just a moment. And with 5 barracks and also adding on a reactor at that starport, he should have enough units on the field to catch Mia off guard, as he is simply not going to be expecting that large amount of bio. Otherwise, there would be more banelings on the field. However, Mia does say, you know what? Having banelings never hurt anyone except for my opponents, in a glorious green goo. And there you have it. All right, Hellions gonna protect each other, covering each other with fire. And what is going on next? Scanner sweep perhaps to try and clean up all of these creep tumors. Zerglings now coming in. Oh, this could be bad. Hellions now backing away. One Hellion does get torched just a bit more, and does get taken down, as we now see a 9 supply difference. Mia, with being down 9 supply, should not hurt him all too much, except for the fact that the worker supply on the Zerg side is much higher. 26 to 56. Yes, a 2-to-1 fight here in terms of just overall supply. But you got to remember that Queens are not accounted for in the army calculations. Here we have still 1 Overlord in position. Widowmines now making a move out across the field. No SCVs to repair these Hellions at all, as we are now expanding to the 4th base for Mia. And is that going to be enough? More Marines still being added here. Double medevacs. Marines are upgraded 1-1. 7 Marines now being trained up at a time, as we now see the engagement coming in. All right, here you go. Creep tumors all falling. Banelings not yet ready. Need about another 82 seconds. As here we go. Zerglings, Marines, both sides just engaging against each other. As the Hellions, the Banelings are going to find their way inside. And a beautiful pickup by the medevacs saves what would have been sheer or just an absolute disaster into perhaps a little bit more of a victory, as the Widowmines now get cleaned up on the ramp. Zerglings still making their way in. Dream sitting on about a 16 supply advantage. Marines now trying to come in to reinforce again, as another Widowmine gets 9 kills, but mostly on Zerglings. Not that many Banelings, I do not believe. And now we are going to take a look at perhaps some Mutalists. Here we go. We can see that the Marines are going to try to engage. The Banelings are now making their way in. Queen now coming over. And what is happening here? There is a nice Widowmine hit. Double transfusions to make sure that it does stay alive. Reaper already at 7 kills. Has to be extremely careful, as creep tumor after creep tumor getting shot down to make sure that creep does not spread. Mutalisk in the skies. Mia still trying to fend off this attack here. The Marines are upgraded 1-1, soon to be 2-2 as it is underway. Mutalisk are still only upgraded 1-0 as there is just too many Marines for Mia to deal with. Banelings, Queens, now coming in. It looks like one Queen, dangerously low, down to 7 hit points, is going to survive here. Somehow surviving with natural regeneration, getting in a little bit more hit points. More Marines just simply walking up the ramp as the Banelings are going to try to find their target. Nope. There is the Medivacs picking up all the Marines. And what is going to be happening here? All right, Zerglings now looking to engage. Widowmine is finally armed, but too little, too late. Some of these Zerglings here are trying to catch some of the Marines in transit. A beautiful hit as we are now still looking. Both sides of these units are, or both armies are just simply getting destroyed. I believe, though, Mia is actually exchanging a bit better than Dream. All right, Harvester, or let's take a look at the losses. 65-75 versus 5,000. You would normally expect that number to be much, much higher if you were in Dream's situation, just because he has a consistent 25 supply advantage over his opponent. You can see that is now dropped to 14, but I'm sure Dream will fix that up here in just a second. We are running on 3 bases, or will be running on 3 bases, as the 3rd command center has yet to lift off and land. No, sorry, 3 bases with a 4th base to be established, as the command center has not yet lifted off and landed. All right, Swarm Host trying to burrow itself right here. Is going to be able to do so. Yes, it will. Mutalisks do arrive and now clean that up. There goes Daisy the drone, fulfilling her dreams of raising up drones at the hatchery and other larvae. Medivacs in play. Mutalisks now trying to make their way in. Widowmine catching some units off guard and out of position once more. Dream has really been effectively using those Widowmines to mentally contain Mia. Mia has not been able to play his style of game whatsoever. He has not been able to be effective with Swarm Host nor macro up, just because Dream did start that attack relatively earlier than most other Terrans would. All right, Swarm Host now coming in. It looks like they may get taken down. Oh, there's a Widowmine trying to burrow itself. Will it be able to burrow itself in time? And it does, only to see all of those units down on time life. Locust now coming in from the north. All those Locusts now pushing in. This is not looking good at all. Locusts, you do not want to be trading with Locusts, as the Swarm Host will be simply recreating them all in just a matter of seconds. Marines, Marauders, going after the Zerglings. Zerglings now falling as the Banelings now show up to the party. There you go. There is a liftoff as the Banelings pretty much all well contained here at the 3rd base of Dream. All right, Medivacs, Marines now pushing their way in again. Swarm Host Locust now making its way in. 25-second life. Absolutely huge. Overseer now getting pushed back as the Marines are still marching forward to perhaps take down another thing here. All right, here comes a big drop inside the main. Dream just straight up elevator dropping in a large doom drop inside the main. You can see that there are also another engagement over here. Swarm Host not leaving their post, and Dream perhaps not paying attention to all of his units actually loses a fair amount in that fight, and we are only at a 1,400 discrepancy in resources now. Coming in once more, the Marines trying to finish off more drones. Not gonna work. It looks as though the Zerglings will clean that up again, as there are a whole bunch of, what is that? 1 changelings and a whole bunch of locusts just sitting off to the side. Swarm Host now in position. There is the scanner sweep. Locust could be coming in from behind. This could be very bad news. And what happened here? The entire attack force of Dream simply melted away, as we now have 1-2 upgrades on all of these units here. Medivacs still wandering. You can see over on this side, another unit perhaps getting taken down. Marauders, Marines, the Widowmines now backing away to a different Zelnaga tower in the center. And now we see another group of units coming in over here. Oh, this could potentially be bad. Is it going to fall in time? It does fall, so a good trade there as the medevac now able to escape the fight once more. Still, the Zerg player has held this one Overlord for quite some time and has been getting a free peep show into the base since what seems to be the beginning of time. All right, creep tumor is now finally being established. Marauders and Marines finishing this all up, and let's what's going to happen here. Spine Crawler now taken down. In comes a Swarm Host. Is Mia going to be able to come back in from this one particular fight here as the Swarm Host now pushing back all of Dream's units, but Dream is at maximum supply and he still looks very, very much in control of this game. 176 supply versus 200. Coming back to repeat and rinse one more. The Swarm Hosts are now getting taken down. And this is exactly what Dream wanted to see. He wants to be able to shoot at Locust and deal with these troublesome creatures while they're in fact dealing with this, I can almost call it a shrieking mine, as so many players just instantaneously shriek when they see him, thinking, oh no, this is going to be bad. How am I going to get back into this? All right, here you have it. More units now being dropped in. Swarm Host getting all cleaned up. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4. All right, 5. Is it going to be enough? 5 Swarm Hosts, 6 Swarm Hosts, all now taken down. Beautiful, beautiful takedown as the Marauders now just inching their way forward inside the main base. $125 supply versus 163. It looks like Dream does have this in the bag. Just needs one good tactical attack, and then he should in fact be able to take this game and give MVP a 5-1 advantage in this overall series. All right, Overlord's getting shot down. Marauders and the Marines going after another hatchery here. Meanwhile, a large push coming in from the center. Fungal Growth does hit some of those Marines. Another Fungal Growth hits. And all the Marines do in fact survive, and they should get healed back up. Let's take a look at what's going on over here. Changeling now trying to chase after those units. Going instead after the Zerglings. Banelings now making their way in, and one Baneling does get taken down, but also takes down a Widow Mine in the process. Alright, this entire drop force does not look very strong any longer. Medevac now trying to get away. It looks like, oh, it stopped flying for just a moment, and the Medevac just lost her boyfriend. Drop now coming in inside the main base. Medevac may be trying to drop off here as well. You can see another drop inside the third, as we now see a drop inside the second base as well. Marines and Marauders, and there's the GG. Mia unable to keep up with Dream here in Game 5.